If you were not meant to be together, you will see these signs. Welcome to a deep dive into the mysteries of relationships and how they impact our lives. Have you ever wondered why some relationships leave you feeling stuck? Or why you always feel the need to fight to keep something that seems to be fading away? In today's video, we'll take you through invaluable lessons from Buddhist and Zen philosophy, helping you recognize the subtle signs in relationships to better understand their true nature. This isn't just about advice. It's about profound stories that bring empathy and understanding. Stories that might change the way you view love, connection, and compassion. The dance of impermanence, relationships as lessons. In our lives, we often encounter relationships that seem to sweep us off our feet, leaving us breathless and yearning for more. It's easy to mistake the intensity of these connections for something eternal, something that was meant to last forever. But as the Buddha so profoundly teaches us, attachment is the root of all suffering. We forget that every connection, no matter how intense, is fleeting. We forget that the very nature of life is impermanence. Consider the story of the great Buddhist monk, Venerable Ananda, one of the Buddha's closest disciples. Ananda, who had lived by the Buddha's side for many years, once asked the Buddha, "What is the most important thing that we should strive to attain in life?" The Buddha, in his infinite wisdom, responded with a simple yet powerful truth. Everything that is born, whether it be a relationship, a thought, or a desire, is bound to decay. When we grasp at something, holding on to it with all our might, we only invite suffering into our lives. Like the flowing river, relationships too must come and go. No matter how strongly we may feel the pull of connection, we must accept the reality that sometimes we are meant to part ways. Not because the bond was weak, but because it served its purpose. In the Zen tradition, we are taught to let go, to release our grip on attachments. This doesn't mean we give up on love or abandon our connections. Rather, it means we stop clinging to the illusion of permanence. Zen, at its heart, speaks to the necessity of living in the present moment, without attachment to the past or the future. What remains, let it be, as the Zen masters say. The power of silence in connection. As we navigate our relationships, we often overlook the subtle power of silence. In the beginning, when we meet someone who seems to understand us, it feels like everything falls into place. Words seem unnecessary, and silence feels comfortable. This is a sacred space, one where two souls can exist without the need for constant chatter. But when the connection is misaligned, that silence can begin to feel hollow, like an empty void that amplifies feelings of loneliness. In these moments, we may be sitting next to someone, but the silence between us is filled with the weight of unspoken words, unacknowledged emotions, and unmet needs. Consider the story of Buddha and his first disciple, Kondana. Kondana had been the first to recognize the Buddha's enlightenment and become a disciple. As they sat together in silence, the bond between them grew. The stillness was not awkward or uncomfortable, but peaceful and nourishing. It was in that silence that Kondana knew he had found a true teacher, one who understood him not through words, but through presence. But when silence feels uncomfortable, like a heavy weight that presses down on the heart, it's a sign that the bond may no longer be serving its intended purpose. When we're misaligned, silence becomes filled with anxiety, making us feel more distant, even though we're physically close. The quiet struggle, when effort becomes sacrifice. When two people are meant to walk together, their efforts are not seen as burdens. Instead, they feel natural, like a flowing river that moves effortlessly around rocks. Love in its truest form does not demand effort for the sake of effort. It is a giving that comes from the heart, not out of obligation. However, in relationships where misalignment exists, effort begins to feel like a transaction. The giving becomes conditional. One partner may give, but the other only takes. The selflessness that once characterized the relationship becomes replaced by expectations and demands. In such relationships, it often feels as if we are losing ourselves, giving more and more while receiving little in return. Buddhism teaches us the concept of right effort, which is one of the key aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right effort involves exerting our energy in ways that reduce suffering, rather than increasing it. When we find ourselves in relationships where effort feels like a constant struggle, we must ask ourselves, Is this effort creating harmony, or is it deepening the divide between us? The inner voice, listening to our true path. In moments of misalignment, the Buddha teaches us to turn inward and listen to the Dharma, our inner truth. Our hearts know the truth long before our minds accept it. When we find ourselves questioning a relationship, feeling a growing sense of unease, or feeling more alone in the presence of our partner than when we're apart, this is our Dharma calling out. It's time to listen. The story of King Ashoka, one of Buddhism's most famous kings, illustrates this perfectly. After waging brutal wars, Ashoka was overcome with guilt and sorrow. In his silence and meditation, he heard the inner voice of his conscience guiding him toward a path of compassion and peace. He turned from the suffering of violence to the peace of Dharma. Similarly, when we begin to feel more peace in solitude than in the company of our partner, our heart is guiding us toward freedom. Zen teaches that when the inner voice grows louder than external noise, it is a call to follow our true path. It is not confusion, it is clarity breaking through the layers of attachment. The peace of letting go Zen reminds us that true peace comes when we stop holding on to the image of what we want something to be, and instead accept what it truly is. When we are no longer afraid of the absence of someone or something, we begin to experience liberation. It's a difficult realization, but as the Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. Letting go is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is a sign of strength and wisdom. When we stop forcing a connection that no longer serves us, we make space for new growth, new understanding, and new love to enter our lives. Just as a flower must shed its petals to make way for new growth, we too must release relationships that no longer nurture our souls. This is not a betrayal of love. It is a return to ourselves, a journey back to our true essence. As the Buddha wisely said, in the end, we are only ever responsible for the peace we create within ourselves. When we let go, we are not abandoning love. We are simply allowing it to evolve into something truer, something more aligned with who we truly are. Relationships, like all things in life, are impermanent. They come and go, and each serves a unique purpose. Some relationships bring us joy, while others teach us valuable lessons in letting go. Zen and Buddhist teachings guide us in accepting these truths with grace and wisdom, showing us that it is not the ending of a relationship that causes suffering, but the clinging to it when it is no longer meant to be. Let us embrace the dance of impermanence, finding peace in both the coming and the going, and recognizing that every relationship is a mirror reflecting our own inner journey. In this dance, we learn not to fear the end, but to celebrate the lessons and ultimately the freedom that comes with releasing what no longer serves our highest good. Signs of misalignment. Observing the subtle signals. Zen wisdom teaches us that the path to peace lies not only in grand gestures or declarations, but in the subtle, quiet signs that guide us through life's most intimate connections. These signs, though often overlooked, are the universe's way of communicating with us, gently urging us to reflect, to listen deeply to our own hearts. In relationships, these signs manifest in the smallest of details, moments of discomfort, unspoken feelings, and a growing sense of distance. The Buddha's teachings remind us that our inner wisdom, our intuition, is the voice of the Dharma that resides within all of us. This inner voice does not shout, but whispers softly, calling us toward the truth. In relationships that no longer serve our growth, this voice becomes louder, clearer, urging us to let go of the attachments that bind us to what no longer aligns with our true path. In Zen practice, the importance of quiet reflection is emphasized. It is in stillness that we hear the subtle cues, the signs that show us when something is out of balance. The Buddha, in his profound wisdom, often spoke of the importance of mindfulness, not just in moments of meditation, but in every interaction, in every relationship. When we become mindful of these small signals, we can see the truth more clearly. The weight of uncomfortable silence. Have you ever sat next to someone, yet felt more alone than ever? This feeling is one of the clearest signs of misalignment. In a truly harmonious connection, silence is not empty. It is filled with mutual understanding, a shared space that allows both souls to breathe freely together. But when a relationship is out of alignment, even silence becomes heavy, oppressive, filled with the weight of unspoken words and unmet needs. This is not a new concept in Buddhist thought. The Dhammapada reminds us, the mind is everything, what you think you become. The mind, when filled with anxiety, restlessness, or discontent, will reflect those emotions outwardly. In a relationship where the silence is uncomfortable, it's the mind's dissonance, a reflection of two hearts that are no longer in tune. The silence between two misaligned souls becomes a mirror, showing us the disconnection that exists beneath the surface. In the famous story of Venerable Mahakāssyapa, a disciple of the Buddha, the true understanding of silence is portrayed. Mahakāssyapa was once asked by the Buddha to explain the essence of his teachings. Instead of speaking, Mahakāssyapa smiled, and in that smile, the Buddha recognized his deep realization. True connection, the Buddha taught, is not bound by words, but by the shared presence of hearts that are in harmony. When two people are aligned, their silence becomes sacred, nourishing, and full of understanding. But when misaligned, it becomes the very source of unrest. The struggle of holding on, attachment versus liberation. As we grow older, our capacity to listen to our inner voice grows stronger. Yet, despite this wisdom, we often find ourselves clinging to relationships out of fear, habit, or the desire for security. In such relationships, the act of holding on can feel like a struggle. Effort becomes laborious, not flowing with love, but weighed down by expectations and the fear of loss. Buddhism teaches us that attachment is the source of suffering. This attachment is not limited to possessions or material things. It extends deeply into our relationships, our identities, and even our expectations of how life should unfold. The Buddha, in his teachings on the Four Noble Truths, explained that suffering arises when we cling to things that are impermanent, and relationships are no exception. In the Zen tradition, we are encouraged to embrace the concept of letting go, not as a sign of weakness, but as a powerful act of freedom. When we hold on to something that no longer serves us, we are not honoring its essence. We are binding ourselves to the illusion of permanence. And this illusion, as Zen teaches, is the root of all suffering. The act of letting go is not about abandonment, but about making space for something truer, more aligned with our path. Consider the parable of the Golden Buddha, where a giant golden statue was discovered, but its true beauty was hidden beneath layers of clay. It took centuries before anyone realized that beneath the layers of dirt and mud, a radiant and sacred Buddha had always been there. The story teaches us that sometimes we must let go of the external layers, our attachments, our illusions, before we can discover the true essence of what was always meant to be. Similarly, when we let go of relationships that no longer serve us, we uncover the deeper truths within ourselves. The inner voice, the wisdom of the heart. As we walk our spiritual journey, there is an inner voice, a guide that speaks to us more clearly with age. This voice does not belong to the mind, which is filled with distractions and doubts, but to the heart, which knows the truth before the mind can catch up. In relationships that are misaligned, this inner voice grows louder, urging us to break free from the chains of attachment. The story of Venerable Sudhana, a young man on a journey of spiritual enlightenment, illustrates the power of this inner wisdom. Sudhana traveled from teacher to teacher, seeking wisdom, but it wasn't until he encountered his own inner wisdom that he truly understood his path. His journey was not external, but internal, learning to trust and listen to his heart's wisdom. In relationships, this inner voice often speaks through feelings of discomfort, restlessness, or the growing realization that we are out of sync with our partner. When we begin to feel more peace in solitude than in the presence of someone else, it is the inner voice whispering, "This is not your path anymore." And yet, we often choose to silence this voice, thinking that we are not ready to face the truth, or fearing the unknown that lies beyond the attachment. Buddhism teaches that true peace comes not from avoiding discomfort, but from embracing it with open awareness. In the Sutra of the Heart, it is said, "Form is emptiness, emptiness is form." This means that when we let go of our attachment to forms, whether they be relationships, desires, or identities, we make space for the true essence of life to emerge. The path of acceptance, embracing the truth. The subtle signs of misalignment in relationships are not there to punish us, but to guide us. They are the Dharma in motion, showing us that it is time to release what no longer serves our highest good. These signs are not the death of love, but the birth of truth. When we accept the impermanence of relationships, we can move toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is the concept of anatta, or non-self. This teaching reminds us that our identities, our relationships, and our attachments are all temporary. When we realize that we are not defined by our relationships or the roles we play, we begin to understand that our true essence is boundless and free. In relationships that are misaligned, we must ask ourselves, is this attachment causing me to lose sight of my true self? If the answer is yes, then it is time to let go. This is not an act of rejection, but an act of self-liberation. By releasing what no longer serves us, we make room for new growth, new understanding, and new love to emerge. Zen wisdom teaches us that true peace comes not from clinging, but from the wisdom of knowing when to let go. By observing the subtle signs, listening to the inner voice, and embracing the impermanence of life, we walk the path of liberation, free from attachment, free from suffering, and open to the endless possibilities that life offers. The courage to let go, embracing peace and transformation. In our lives, we are often taught that love is about holding on, never letting go, and fighting for what we believe is worth saving. But true wisdom, as taught in Buddhism, reveals that sometimes the most profound act of love is not in holding on, but in the courage to let go. Letting go is not an expression of anger or resentment. It is the peaceful release of what no longer serves us, making space for growth, transformation, and the alignment with our true path. The Buddha, in his profound teachings, frequently spoke about the nature of attachment and its role in human suffering. Attachment is the root of suffering, he said. This is not just about our possessions or material desires, but about our deep attachments to relationships, expectations, and outcomes that we desperately try to control. When we cling too tightly to something or someone, we lose sight of the present moment, and we are imprisoned by our own expectations. We bind ourselves to a past that has already unfolded and to a future that may never come to pass. A great teaching in the Buddhist tradition comes from the story of Kisa Gotami, a woman who had lost her child and in her grief sought the Buddha for help. The Buddha, seeing her pain, told her to find a mustard seed from a household where no one had ever died. Kisa Gotami traveled from house to house, but she could find no household untouched by death. It was in this realization, this surrender, that Kisa Gotami understood that death and impermanence are universal. In accepting the impermanence of life, she found peace. Letting go of her attachment to the idea that she could stop death, she was able to move forward and embrace a deeper wisdom. This is the essence of letting go in Buddhism. It is the acceptance of impermanence, the realization that nothing in life is permanent, not even the most cherished relationships. The attachment to the notion of forever in relationships can often prevent us from seeing clearly. When we are caught in the cycle of clinging, we deny ourselves the opportunity to evolve, to learn, and to step into the life that awaits us beyond the attachment. We are tethered, not to love, but to fear and expectation. The freedom found in release. In relationships, the moment we begin to feel a sense of peace at the thought of letting go is often the clearest signal that it is time to release. It's not the relief of giving up or surrendering in defeat, but the serene understanding that what we are holding on to no longer serves our growth, our happiness, or our true nature. This peaceful acceptance does not come from indifference. Rather, it arises from the deep wisdom of knowing that by letting go, we are allowing both ourselves and the other person the space to evolve. Think of the story of Vimalakirti, a great lay disciple of the Buddha, who was known for his wisdom. In one of the Buddha's teachings, Vimalakirti compares life to a lotus flower. The lotus begins as a seed, but it must let go of its old form to emerge and bloom. Just as the lotus must release its connection to the water in order to rise above it, we too must release our attachments in order to rise to the full potential of our lives. Letting go is not a loss, it is a liberation, a stepping stone towards spiritual freedom. When we stop fighting to make something work, we are not giving up. Instead, we are acknowledging that the energy we are expending could be better used for growth. Growth of the self, growth of the soul. Holding on to what is no longer aligned with us often leaves us feeling drained, disconnected, and lost. But by releasing that which no longer serves us, we invite new opportunities, fresh energy, and the chance to create a new path. This path may not always be clear, but it will be authentic, true to our deeper needs and desires. Clinging and the heavy burden of attachment. Attachment, when viewed through the lens of Buddhism, is seen as the source of much of our suffering. This attachment is not just to material things, but to people, places, outcomes, and even our own identities. We become so attached to the way we think things should be that we fail to notice the way they actually are. The mind becomes clouded with the belief that if we just hold on a little longer, things will change. But the Buddha's teachings guide us to see that true peace comes not from holding on, but from releasing, from embracing the flow of life as it is. In the Buddhist practice of mindfulness, we are encouraged to observe without attachment, to see things as they are, without the need to control or manipulate them. This practice requires great courage, as it asks us to release our clinging to the past and our fears about the future. It invites us to fully experience the present moment without judgment, without attachment. When we practice letting go, we allow ourselves to be fully present in each moment without the heavy burden of expectation or regret. The strength in surrender. There is a strength that comes from surrendering, not in a passive or defeated way, but in an active acceptance of what is. The Buddha taught that in surrendering to the impermanence of life, we align ourselves with the flow of the universe. In this alignment, we are not passive victims of fate. We are co-creators, choosing to live in harmony with the natural rhythms of existence. The story of Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha himself, is a powerful example of this strength in surrender. Siddhartha was born into a life of luxury and comfort, but he knew that this was not the path to true happiness. He left his kingdom, his family, and all of his worldly attachments to seek enlightenment. In his surrender to the truth of impermanence, he found peace. He did not cling to his former life or to his desires. Instead, he embraced the present moment with deep awareness and wisdom. This is the courage that Buddhism speaks of, not the courage to cling to what we desire, but the courage to release what no longer serves us. It takes great inner strength to let go of relationships, identities, or possessions that we have grown attached to. But in doing so, we create space for true transformation, both for ourselves and for the world around us. Letting go, a path to liberation. Ultimately, letting go is a path to liberation. It is a path that frees us from the cycle of suffering that attachment creates. As we release the things that no longer serve us, we step into a greater sense of peace, one that is not dependent on external circumstances but arises from within. This is the peace that the Buddha spoke of, a peace that comes from the acceptance of impermanence, from the release of attachment, and from the courage to live fully in the present moment. In letting go, we are not giving up on love. We are giving love the freedom to grow in its truest form. We are not losing something precious. We are gaining the wisdom to see life as it is, without the distortion of attachment. Through this release, we find the strength to become more fully ourselves, aligned with the flow of life and the wisdom of the universe. In the end, the Buddha's teachings invite us to live with open hands, ready to receive whatever comes, and just as ready to let go of whatever must go. It is in this balance of holding and releasing that we find the greatest peace and the most profound freedom. When relationships reach their natural conclusion, it is not the end of love, it is the birth of truth. Zen teaches us that relationships are mirrors reflecting our own inner states. When you stop forcing a connection that is no longer fulfilling, you allow yourself to grow, to heal, and to become whole again. If you find yourself feeling lighter, more at peace after letting go, then know this: you are not losing love, you are gaining freedom. The teachings of Zen and Buddhism offer us the tools to navigate the complexities of relationships, helping us find clarity in moments of uncertainty and peace in moments of departure. True love begins with self-love, the kind of love that allows us to walk away from what drains us and toward what nourishes our soul. This perspective on relationships aligns with the Buddhist teaching of impermanence. When we accept that not everything is meant to last forever, we are liberated. The bond you once thought was permanent may transform, but that transformation is not a failure. It is a step toward your true path. May you embrace this wisdom and walk forward with peace, knowing that each ending is simply a beginning in disguise. The universe, in its wisdom, always has a plan, and as you release what no longer serves you, you open the door to new beginnings. Thank you for watching until the end. We hope the Buddhist insights and stories shared today have helped you realize that sometimes letting go in a relationship is the key to finding peace and freedom. This is an important message that we can't overlook on our journey to self-liberation and happiness. If you found this video valuable, don't hesitate to leave a comment below and share your thoughts. And remember to hit like if you enjoyed the content and subscribe to continue receiving more valuable videos like this one. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.